Am I the a-hole for being mad at my parents that they got my older brother a car for his 18th birthday and not on mine, and then causing the whole family to be up in arms about it till they came through? Okay, I know the title sounds like I'm spoiled, but hear me out. My brother 20 got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything, it was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. And he rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was in senior year of high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I worked my hardest in the hope of fairness, and I even did some volunteering cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago, and the only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for, was a car. I wasn't expecting something like a new car or a sporty car, just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't even anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th, my mom baked the cake herself. It was a delicious layered chocolate pudding cake, while I got a sheet cake from the supermarket. For his, they got a DJ. For mine, it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mixed CDs. We went through the whole party, and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me, but that didn't happen. I asked them as things were wrapping up why there was no car when my brother got one, and they said that they felt like he'd worked harder for it. I asked what he did that I didn't do, because I did all of that and more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything, and then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very, very, very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it's fine to get their firstborn son a car and a DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something, then everyone else who had not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives, and my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back, my parents were pissed and told me I'd shamed them to the whole family. I just walked past them because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went by with a silent treatment between us. But then a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a white 98 Subaru Legacy that runs great. They practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope at me and said to have fun. I got the car and they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know a car isn't a real right, but a privilege, so I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the a-hole for how all this played out? Edit. I would like to clarify a few things. My parents make pretty good money and also don't go out of their way to live lavishly by choice. They've always been moderate in everything they buy or do. Though if anything is stretching their finances, it's my brother's college tuition. He got a partial scholarship and my parents are paying the rest. I don't and never intended to ask for the same treatment than that. I want to work and pay my own student loans. Now that I have the car, I'm already looking into getting a part-time job. This also isn't a gender thing as I'm male like my brother. The bill of sale for the car I got says my parents paid $1,600 for it, while my brother's car cost them about $3,000+ if I remember. But I don't see it as a money issue. I actually really loved a Subaru and told my parents so, though they did not share my enthusiasm. I also did try to talk about a car with my parents a few times last year, but they always dodged the conversations about the topic. I figured if I talked about it too much, it'd ruin it, and so I stopped. I would have felt like a brat to keep talking about getting an imaginary car, so I learned to just stay silent and hope. I can't go stay with my grandparents because they live in a one-bedroom condo. There isn't enough room for other people. After all their kids grew up, my grandparents decided to downsize to make their eventual retirement easier. Also, my grandparents know all of the details already, and they tell me that I didn't do anything wrong, and we're already planning on confronting my parents quietly over the car issue. But they took the chance to take care of the matter when they heard me asking my parents about it. As for my brother's 18th birthday party, it was held in 2020 during basically the height of the pandemic. Honestly, we shouldn't have had a big party like that at a time, but my parents insisted. As for my brother himself, he barely speaks to me, even before he left for college. He didn't show up at my 18th birthday party, and I figured that's just because he's busy with college and he's not even in the same state as us anymore. Honestly, I haven't seen or heard from him since Christmas, And even then, the most I got out of him was a mild greeting. I didn't thank my parents for the car. Enthusiastically thanked them even, but they've barely said a word to me after giving me the Subaru. And when I thanked my parents, they brushed me off and just went inside. It kind of gave off the vibe that they were letting a brat play with this new toy, which was pretty upsetting and one of the reasons I made this post. Added to, there was one more thing I forgot to say. I was really hoping to get the car because I literally couldn't get a part-time job without one. We don't live in the city and we're 10 miles from the nearest public bus stop. I've always had to get rides to go anywhere. Now that I have the car, I intended to look for a part-time after-school job as soon as I can. Now for the top comments. Can we give it up for your grandma? She's awesome. I would have been bummed out too if my siblings received a car and I didn't. Cars are expensive. Did your parents explain why you weren't initially getting a car and why no effort was put into your birthday? Not day haul, by the way. My siblings all got their first cars bought for them and I paid for my own. Always bummed me out, but it is what it is. And I felt like it was more important to me because I'd earned that car and paid for it with my own money. However, it does suck to feel like they were favored over me, so I get how Opie feels. Same here. Middle child, brother got a car bought for him. Sister got a car bought for her, which was quite a nice car, and she decided she didn't like it, so they bought her another one and kept the one she didn't like for dad. I paid for my own, about half the price of either of their initial cars. I love that car though. Ran like a dream. Not day home. The way they got called out by the whole family is hilarious. They're mad they got caught. Good on you, Opie. You just know the parents were ready to revise history and downplay all of Opie's accomplishments, but Grandma didn't let them. Go, Grandma. Opie, your parents were showing obvious favoritism. This isn't Cinderella. They got named and shamed in front of the whole family as they deserve. It's so satisfying to see how the rest of the family stepped in to set things straight. Please don't let this shake your confidence in yourself. You worked hard, and even if your parents refuse to see it, you will meet so many people in your life that will love, appreciate, and respect the effort you put in. Be kind to yourself, Opie. You are not a hole. Not a hole. Golden child BS/favoritism should not be condoned. Good for you that your family stood up for you and you eventually got a car. The manner of which isn't pleasant, but it was worth sticking to your guns. If I was Opie, I'd start staying closer to grandma and uncle instead of these dog crap parents. What pathetic parents, lol, have to be called out by family to just do the basics of treating their kids fairly and decently. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdad it's not my job to be a good influence for his kids? This is the dumbest argument I've ever had with adults. I'm 16 female, the steps are 14 female, 10 male, and 9 female. My mom and their dad have been dating a little over a year and are engaged. We just all moved into a new place together because the parents want to blend the families, and no one but them are happy about it. The steps and I made an agreement before they moved in that we all just leave each other alone, because none of us want a new family. But if they need an emergency lift or help with something when the parents aren't around, that's fine. The AITA issue started because I'm a serious athlete, so my lifestyle has to be pretty healthy. I worked out a lot, did I meal prep most of my own food to make sure I keep up with my nutrition plan. The step family have a very different way of doing things, and that's causing some friction. I don't care what shape or size they are, just to throw that in there. It's none of my business. But stepdad has started like using me as an object lesson to the kids. Opie always eats really healthy, we should probably all be doing that. And maybe Opie could give us some pointers and we could do a family gym night. That kind of thing. It's really upsetting the 14-year-old especially, I think, because she's kinda sensitive about her size, and having me around isn't helping with that already. Over the weekend, I was making a shopping list for meal prep for the week when stepdad brings the 14-year-old in and says, "Hey Opie, stepsis would like to try your meal plan out. Can you walk her through it?" This is a dumbass getaway. My diets won't work for her because I spend a lot of extra calories a day most days. And I'm not a nutritionist to figure out what she needs. But also, she looks like she wants to die on the spot. So I say, "Stepsis, do you really want to do this?" She says no. So I tell her dad that he probably needs to just back off because this is really sucky for everyone. He says, I just think her seeing how you do things would be a good influence. And I'm like, I'm not here to be a good influence on your kids. That's your job. So now I'm in trouble for being disrespectful. And we had to have this big family meeting about all getting along and helping each other. And I got in more trouble for telling them, that's rich. Because they didn't care what any of us thought about anything when they were making decisions. But I don't really think any of this is even helpful. Like, it would be different if the other kids want to get fit. It's still not a job for me, but I could try to do a support. Not stay home. It's stepdad's job to model healthy eating and exercise to his kids. Instead, he decided to body shame a teenage girl by comparing the two of you. Opie is standing up for her stepsister and being a more supportive family member than her own father is being. She's doing family blending better than Dad is. Harping kids about their weight is never going to help. It is a one-way ticket to an eating disorder and bad body image. Opie's right. If he wants his kids to start eating better, he needs to be cooking healthy meals for everyone. Not stay home. You ask her about what she wanted, something your stepdad clearly needs to work on. You are being a good role model, whether he wants to see it or not, by showing the kids respect and that their voices are heard. Keep it up. Opie, you are not stay home and already a role model, and it seems like you've got your stepsisters back even though you didn't sign up for that. I graduate in May with a degree in nutrition, and what stepdad was suggesting is literally the opposite of what his daughter needs from a nutrition standpoint, unless she is actually getting the same amount of intense physical activity. And even then, the portions would have to be adjusted to fit her particular needs. Sports nutrition is entirely different from lifestyle nutrition, and the proportion of protein and other nutrients can be very excessive, and actually unhealthy for someone not getting the adequate amount of physical activity to utilize the excess nutrients. While stepdad's intentions may be good, he definitely needs to take a step back before it actually causes physical harm. That's what I thought. My diet is set up and checked regularly by a sports nutritionist, and I only know what I need for me and what my dad does for powerlifting. Even he tells people to train with him to see a professional for nutrition, because DIY can be dangerous when you need to cut a lot. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my mother-in-law spend the night in my bedroom and lock the door? Context. My husband, male 34, and I, female 26, got married 9 months ago. We live in a different town from his parents, and his mom visited us unexpectedly on Friday. Now, to give some context about my mother-in-law, she is okay-ish but has no respect for her son's privacy and, by extension, mine. When it was time to go to bed, mother-in-law requested that we let her sleep in the bedroom, on the master bed. Not just that, but lock the door as well because she explained she can't feel comfortable enough to sleep without locking the door. I found this bizarre, but I politely declined and suggested other options like the guest room, couch, and air mattress. But no, she turned around and presented these options to me. My husband agreed, but I said no, and this initiated an argument between her and I. During the argument, I pointed out how I didn't want to be kept out of my room and away from my stuff, but she lashed out at my husband saying, "Don't you just stand there? Say something." My husband told me to let her, it's just one night, but I told her those were all the options I had for her, and if she didn't like them, then I could book her in a hotel. She took it as in I was kicking her out and started crying, which made my husband upset. She left at 12 a.m. and my husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house and treated her poorly. He then reminded me it's our bedroom, not just mine, and I acted horribly to her, causing her to go stay at a hotel in the middle of the night. He went to book a room in the same hotel as her and turned his phone off. The next day, she went home and told the family, who berated me, calling my behavior towards mother-in-law abhorrent and loathsome. Now my husband is complaining about how I keep trying to ruin his relationship with his family and push them away. But I want to know if I was really the a-hole. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Girl, I would get a divorce ASAP. These kinds of relationships never last for a long time. He is not able to see the disrespect his mother is giving both of you guys. Run. Edit. Never thought my first most liked comment on Reddit would be an advice to get divorced. I wanted to say this but didn't. Glad someone did though. I mean, I just told her what I would do. She probably want to lock the room so she can snoop around. See, that's exactly what I thought too. LMAO. She probably did room checks on husband when he lived with her, and she's dying for the snooping fix. It's either that or she's such a control freak that this is her way of marking her territory. She needs to feel important so badly, and the only way she feels that can happen is if she stomps all over her son's new wife's boundaries, as in lifts her leg on both physical and emotional boundaries. She probably wants to snoop too, but I think the former is probably the main issue. Not today home. My husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house. That she can use the guest room. She clearly had ulterior motives here. There is every chance she planned to snoop. Yeah, I have important and highly personal stuff that I keep in my bedroom. Not today home. It's creepy that she wants to sleep in a room you and your husband, her son, share. Especially with that insane amount of pushback she was giving, and looking at her son to step in only makes this worse than it needs to be. Husband is acting like a mama's boy and needs to see his mom is totally in the wrong. I'm a mama's boy, but this guy must be a whipped mama's boy. Only time I've let my mom or parents sleep in the master bed was when my wife and I lived in home/apartments that were one bedroom and when visiting us. We didn't feel it was fair to them to have to sleep on an uncomfortable couch or an air mattress. But we insisted, not them demanding to sleep there. This lady definitely wanted to snoop, and her husband, hell, the whole family, needs a reality check. Not today home.
Am I the a-hole for not kicking my sister out of the house my parents bought for us, for my girlfriend? I, 30 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 29 female, let's call her Leah, for a little over 2 years. About 3 months ago, we talked about moving in together. I suggested we rent an apartment, but she insisted on moving into the house I currently live in. For context, the house I live in is pretty much like a mansion, multiple bedrooms, a pool, a huge garden area. My parents bought this house for me and my sister, 25 female, let's call her Lily, when they moved abroad. The plan was for us to live here until we got married. After my parents retire, they plan to move back in, and this would be our family house to visit during the holidays. Until last year, Lily and I both lived here. She moved in with her fiancé, but I told her she's always welcome to move back in if she ever needs to. Her belongings and my parents' things are still here, so it's still considered our family home, not mine alone. I told Leah that if she wanted to live here, she'd have to be okay with my sister or parents moving back in whenever they needed to. I also told her that if we get married, we would not be staying in this house long term. She agreed and moved in 3 months ago. About a month ago, I got a call in the middle of the night from Lily using an unknown number. She was crying and asked me to come get her. I found her sitting on the pavement with a forehead injury, a bleeding split lip, and took her to the hospital. It turns out her fiancé was cheating on her. When she confronted him and broke off the engagement, he got violent and hit her. She ran out of the house in panic. I had her move back in with me, and we filed a police report. He only got a month in jail because, according to the authorities, it wasn't that serious. We also got a restraining order. Now Leah is upset, saying I shouldn't have let my sister move back in without asking her first. I reminded her again that this is not our house, and my sister is in a really bad situation. I told my parents about everything, and they said they would move back to take care of Lily, so that Leah and I wouldn't have to. However, it will take about 2 months for them to move back, because my dad has a medical condition, I won't go into detail, that requires regular checkups and treatment. They need time to transfer his medical records and find a new doctor here. My parents asked me to stay with my sister until they return, especially since her ex will be out of prison by then. None of us want anything bad to happen. I talked to Leah and told her we would need to move out of the house in 2 months. She refused, saying this is our house and my sister should leave. I reminded her of our original agreement, but she wouldn't budge. I then gave her 2 options, We both move out when my parents return, or she can move into an apartment while I stay with my sister until my parents arrive, and then I'll move in with her. She begrudgingly agreed to stay until my parents return, but has constantly been complaining about how unfair it is that we have to move out of our house for my sister and parents. I've been trying to stay patient, reminding her that this was never our house. The last straw came last week when she told my sister she should just suck it up and move back in with her fiancé, and not burden everyone around her because she's too sensitive. I had enough. I told Leah to apologize or we were done. She refused, saying I was being ridiculous and that it was just a joke. So I broke up with her and had her move out of the house. Now her friends and family are texting me, calling me an a-hole for treating Leah like that, saying my sister and I should be ashamed. I've tried explaining the situation, but they won't listen. My own family and friends are on my side, but I've started to doubt myself, wondering if I acted too quickly or if I should have tried harder to reason with her. I'm kind of lost on what to do. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You have dodged a bullet. Leah fell in love with your lifestyle, not you. Your parents gave you this house with terms and agreements. She knew your plan and agreed to it. She was never going to move out once your parents got there. Eventually, she would have tried to convince you to kick your parents out or send your parents to a retirement home. Block all of Leah's family and friends. OP, you have a heart of gold for truly caring deeply for your family. Please find someone who will reciprocate that. You will. I dated someone like this once. They never outright said it, but they'd make comments about my parents' wealth and our lifestyle, and talk about how they dream to be part of it, la la la. I always thought it was super weird. That's my parents' lifestyle, and their money. Yes, obviously I have benefited from it, and they are generous, but I don't get how dating me is going to get you near their bank account. It's not like I lived a super flashy life. I lived in a $500 a month rundown apartment, wore cheap clothes, and drank cheap beer like a normal college student. I really hope you're not actually planning on marrying this girl. She's not rational. She's not worth the drama. Her actions would make me seriously consider being associated with her in any way, not the a-hole. The girlfriend wants that house for sure. The entitlement is thick with her. I agree. OP, I'm on your side. Your girlfriend wanted the glamorous life living in a mansion and wanted your family home to be her house. She lied to you so she could move in and thought she could get you on her side in case anyone else moves in. She's selfish and cares more about her dream lifestyle than your family. Not the a-hole. You saved yourself a lifetime of drama and future Reddit stories being read out on YouTube. No. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my girlfriend's sister and her kids out of my flat after my girlfriend gave her the keys? People around me are saying I'm the a-hole, but I need the perspective of uninvolved people. My long-term girlfriend has a key to my apartment, just like I have a key to hers. One unspoken but always respected rule was, if you're going to the other's place, just send a quick text like, "Hey, going to your place." It didn't matter whether the other person was home or even replied, just a simple heads up out of respect. I was supposed to be away 700 kilometers from home for 2 weeks for work. 4 days in, our instructor got into an accident. Work tried to find a replacement but couldn't on such short notice. Around 10 p.m., they told us we'd be flying back early the next morning at 6 a.m. and we'd be paid overtime and get the day off. Then we'd resume our normal schedule. I got home at around 9 a.m. the next day and texted my girlfriend to let her know I was back. When I reached my door, I was confused to hear children screaming inside. No one who has a key to my place, my brother and my girlfriend, has young kids. I actually thought I might have squatters. I opened the door and saw my girlfriend's sister's kid running around after a shower, water everywhere, and half-finished plates of ravioli on the living room floor. Their suitcases were open in the entryway. Inside, her sister's husband was sitting on my couch trying to hook up my old PS2, something he clearly dug out from storage. I immediately got into a verbal argument with him, trying to understand what the heck was going on. He told me my girlfriend had said they could stay at my flat for 2 weeks while I was gone. They wanted to visit the city and go to the beach. While I was arguing with him, I got a text from my girlfriend saying, "Oh, okay, by the way, my sister's fam is at your flat." I'll admit I blew up at him and at her sister, who came out of my bedroom. I told them to leave immediately. They argued and called my girlfriend, then put her on speaker. She said I was embarrassing her and that she told them they could stay at my place for a while. I threatened to call the police and ask my brothers to come over. They eventually left, while cursing me out in front of their kids, saying their holiday was ruined because the mean little sister's boyfriend kicked them out. Now her whole family, and even some people in my own family, are saying I should have just stayed at my girlfriend's place so the kids could enjoy a vacation. Also, they went through my medical paperwork. I always organize my prescription notes a certain way, and they obviously took some of my prescribed meds. An opened box of benzodiazepines was left behind. Am I the a-hole for making them leave? Ever since then, my girlfriend and I haven't been able to talk about anything else. I feel like I'm being gaslit. I would never invite people to her apartment without asking her first, especially not without telling her at all. It feels incredibly disrespectful. Am I going insane? The proper way to do it was girlfriend stay at your flat and let them move into hers. That way, she takes the brunt of the invasion of privacy and damage. But definitely she kept it from you and planned their trip to coincide with yours. This was intentional, and you're not the a-hole. She and her family owe you a huge apology before you get over this. Do not let them walk all over you. This is the hill to die on. I live in a 2-bedroom flat. Her place is a 1-bedroom. Guessing that's why she didn't do that. Only a guess, since I have not managed to get them to calmly explain what happened instead of the absolute chaos that is unfolding in the past few days on WhatsApp. Why are you bothering to try to talk? I hope you got your key back and that you are single, because this was pure disrespect, and they gaslit you the whole time. By the way, your own family sucks for thinking you should have let them stay, especially after you walked into your apartment and found it in chaos. You definitely need to rethink this relationship, because I doubt this was the first time she's done something like that if you've ever gone on a work trip before. She literally mentioned it as an afterthought that her sister was there. Wow. Not the a-hole. If the people around you saying you're the a-hole, then you need different people. Who does this? Your girlfriend was wildly out of line in just giving your apartment over to her family. Hard no, and hill to die on. It is mostly her family and my parents with baby fever who are very angry. None of us have proper kids and dote heavily on anyone under the age of 10, family or friends. Change those locks and dump the girlfriend. It is completely unacceptable. I wouldn't even be talking to these people enough to have them tell me I was wrong. Girlfriend said we could stay here. Girlfriend? Who dat? I don't know her. Get out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'd rather raise a kid who stands up for themselves than one who blindly obeys? I'm 32 female. My husband is 31 male. We have a 6-year-old son, Leo. He's a sweet, curious kid who's really into dinosaurs and loves riding his little blue bike. Last weekend, I went grocery shopping while my husband stayed home with Leo. Apparently, Leo was outside riding his bike and left it in the front yard while he went inside to get water. A few minutes later, our neighbor, Miss Robert, came over saying her grandson, 8 male, saw Leo take his bike. My husband looked out, didn't see Leo's bike, and assumed the worst. He confronted Leo, who insisted he didn't steal anything. He said his bike was gone. My husband didn't believe him and told him he was grounded. No TV, no tablet until he told the truth and apologized. Leo refused, saying, "I didn't take anyone's bike. Why are you punishing me when I didn't do anything?" Later that afternoon, Miss Robert returned, visibly embarrassed. Turns out her grandson had taken Leo's bike to the park because he thought it looked cooler. He made the whole story up to avoid getting in trouble. When I got home, my husband explained the situation. I figured, okay, you'll apologize to Leo and this will be a learning moment. But nope, he doubled down. He said Leo still needed to be punished for disrespect and refusing to obey. I said, "So you want to punish him for telling the truth and standing up for himself?" He said, "It's the principle. He needs to listen, even when he doesn't agree." And I said, I'd rather raise a boy who knows how to stand up for himself than one who just lays down and accepts mistreatment, especially when he's innocent. We got into a pretty heated argument. He says I'm being unreasonable and dramatic and undermining him as a parent. But I don't think I'm wrong for wanting to teach my son that it's okay to say no when something is unfair, even if it's coming from a parent. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Good grief. What kind of authoritarian did you marry? Not the a-hole. OP's husband is less of a dictator and more of a dick. Not the a-hole, but your husband sure is. It's the principle, is what someone says to justify their own self-righteousness. If your husband doesn't change his approach, he's going to alienate your son. He will also undermine his confidence, create a bad image of what a man and father should be, because he will humiliate him consistently until he's out of his life if he doesn't learn now. Either that, or he's on his way to training a pathological liar and a person who is capable of literally anything. If he's going to get into trouble whether he did it or not, then why the hell not do it? Or if he can learn to lie his way out of it, then grows up doing exactly that. Either way, yikes. This is exactly what turned me into a maniacal rebel when I was an adolescent. My parents were going to beat me black and blue regardless, so I might as well just freaking do whatever I want, whenever I want. Honestly, no regrets. It made me the man I am today. It took some growing up to mature my rebellion into what it is now. Parents who don't learn to apologize to their kids are the ones who don't understand why the kids won't talk to them as adults, not the a-hole. That really hit home, thank you. I never want my son to feel like he can't come to me or trust me. Apologizing when we're wrong isn't weakness. It's how we build real, lasting connection. I appreciate you putting it so perfectly. I have apologized to my son when I am wrong, and as a result, he apologizes to me when he's wrong. He's learned that mistakes happen and emotions can run high, but we do the best we can with what we have, and we repair relationships as best we can, as soon as we can. Of course, we still rub each other the wrong way at times, but he absolutely listens to me when I lay down punishments as consequences of his actions. And he stands up for himself in ways I could never have dreamed of. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to financially support my wife's adult siblings? My wife and I have been married for 3 years. She's incredibly close to her family, especially her 2 younger siblings, ages 24 and 26. The issue is, they don't work steady jobs, constantly pursue passions, and somehow always need money. Over the past year, I noticed hundreds of dollars leaving our joint account every month. When I asked her about it, she admitted she's been helping her siblings with rent, groceries, even paying off one's phone bill. I was shocked. We're not exactly rich. She works part-time and I cover most of our household expenses. I told her we need to set boundaries. We have our own future to think about, saving for a house, maybe having kids. But she got defensive and said, family takes care of each other, and that I'm being cold-hearted. I said I'm fine with occasional help during emergencies, but I'm not okay with regularly supporting 2 grown adults who don't even try to improve their situation. She hasn't stopped sending money, and now she's accusing me of trying to control her and turn her against her family. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down and refusing to let our money go to her siblings? Not the a-hole. I would thank your lucky stars you realized this about your wife before you had kids. I'd suggest counseling, but I don't see a way she'll ever be willing to put your family first instead of supporting her lazy siblings. I'd start looking at divorce, because if you stay with her, you'll always be a guy who's there to support her entitled family. Time to split accounts. She can pay for her siblings out of her own money. After she pays her share of the bills. She's using, at least partly, your hard-earned money to give to her siblings and checks notes. Accuses you of controlling her? No discussion beforehand, no request to send your money to her siblings? She needs a reality check on how relationships work. Communication and trust go both ways, and this is a weird what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine mentality. Suggest that she helps them with their resume and finding stable work that will fund their bills while they pursue their passions. Not the a-hole. Her failure to consult him about it before sending her siblings joint marital funds is the big red flag here, though draining marital assets to support third parties is obviously pretty bad in itself. Not the a-hole OP. She doesn't know how to be in a marriage. This is a big deal. Question: why does his wife only work part-time? They don't have kids. Could it be that she has a similar mindset to that of her siblings? Only work a little and have someone else pay the bills for her? OP, separate your finances immediately. Let her finance her siblings using her own money. After she's taken care of her share of the bills, of course. Update: my ex-girlfriend wants my forgiveness 5 years after cheating on me. Original post: now this happened a few years ago, obviously. We had a little fight when we were 23, both 28 now. We had been dating since high school, moved in together for college. When we had our fight, it was because she was acting off. When I'd ask her what's wrong, she kept brushing me off. I guess I got a little too worried for her and got invasive of her personal space because she ended up arguing with me. I ended up booking a hotel for a week to give her some space in the home I had paid for. When I came back, I saw a pendant of a crucifix in my bedroom's countertop. When I asked her whose this was, she simply claimed it was hers. But when I saw through the lie, she broke down and gave me the harsh truth: that she had just cheated. I was heartbroken. She claimed she still loved me and gave me a whole bunch of talk, which did seem convincing, but I broke up with her anyways. Now, 5 years later, she comes back to me and says she still loved me and she's always loved me. She's also been claiming that cheating was her worst mistake ever, but from the look in her eyes and her tone, it felt genuine. I'm really conflicted right now. I've loved her for forever. I never really stopped. And seeing a chance back might make me blind and just choose to have her back. I really don't want my heart taking this decision. We've both dated nobody since. I know I didn't. She claims she didn't. Who knows? I need help. Do cheaters even deserve forgiveness? Now for the top advice before reading the update. What I want to know is, if you think you can move past this even if you forgave her, after you forgive her, does she want to rekindle the relationship? Yes, people have been forgiven for cheating, but that doesn't mean you need to put yourself in that vulnerable position again. Like I said, she's been begging for forgiveness. Even when I start hesitating, she stops looking for forgiveness. She just begs me not to hate her. It all clenches my heart. I really don't know if she's a master manipulator or I'm the fool. This isn't just forgiveness for cheating. What about the lying? Well, the lying technically didn't last over 5 minutes, since she broke down quite quickly, but you're 100% right. Don't think about the good times. Imagine how you'll feel the next time you guys have a fight. Will you pull your punches because you're afraid she'll run out and bang someone new? How do you know she won't? Was the guy a friend? A random from a bar or what? The point is, her regret now doesn't mean a damn thing. If in the future cheating is her reflex response to conflict. I was too broken to ask about who the guy was. It was quite literally the last thing on my mind since the whole topic hurt me. But you're giving me quite the futuristic insight. Yeah, you're right though. Thank you for putting that thought into my mind. I'm not sure if anyone can give you the right advice. I wouldn't take back a cheater because I always believe there are other people I could date. However, both of you haven't dated since then. Is dating other people than her sound appealing? Why haven't you given it a shot since this relationship ended? I've had horrible relationships even before her. I overall just surrendered the idea and continued focusing on self-development. Just to make myself clear, yes, my date game in high school was just as disastrous. Well, I think it would be a good move to expand your horizons and date other people. It's been a long time since this relationship ended, and you've done a lot of self-development. You've changed. Would you even want to be in a relationship, or do you like where you are now? I definitely want a relationship, just haven't been actively seeking one. But you guys on Reddit made me see things more logically rather than emotionally. I'm forever grateful for that. Mini update. I've fully decided against getting back with her, and I've unblocked her and called her telling her to meet up in a cafe tomorrow night to discuss our feelings towards each other. But I will not take her back. Now for the full update. I called her after everyone told me it's best we ask for information, and so I've rung her up to meet at a place we both agreed on. We ended up meeting at a restaurant as we had agreed upon. As expected, she went back to apologizing mode, but then I wasn't going to let her off the hook, and I had asked her for everything. I asked about why she was off before I had given her a break. She said she's had a feeling that we're no longer clicking as we used to, which was sort of true, and that she wanted to do something to lighten up our relationship before it might have been too late. She felt the spark was gone and felt an urge to do something, therefore explaining her sudden shift in attitude and mood. I asked her about the cheating build-up and who the guy was. She says she went out with a certain friend I already know. We'll call her Rosie. Now, I always knew Rosie liked to act like a whore. She's the kind of woman you'd hook up with and find her gone by the next morning, like some Batman crap. But still my ex's friend. She said after our argument, she called up Rosie to rant about our argument. It was a Friday night and Rosie just recommended she drinks her worries away and hit up some bar. They did just that. Once they got too drunk, apparently Rosie just started flirting around, and that gathered attention to her and her clique, which is my girlfriend. Before she knew it, she continued drinking with some other guy while she wasn't sober, and she ended up spending the night at my house with some other guy. She claimed she got furious and heartbroken to pieces, to the point she kicked the guy out immediately, thus explaining the pendant that magically remained after she cheated. She also claimed that she blocked and ghosted Rosie on everything right away, which I can personally confirm because I have not seen my ex and Rosie together in a very, very long time. I asked her after, has she really been single all this time? She confessed that she had tried to find replacements, in which she did not get sexual with at all. But these replacements were never good enough. I asked her, how is that possible for the past 5 years? She stated she just tossed aside her sexual and romantic needs and focused more into her work, so that she can just let go of whatever she felt. I asked her, how is that possible? To be single in her 20s for so long. She said she had hoped the opportunity to take me back would come, but it never did. She realized the only way to rekindle our relationship is by her own efforts. She said she noticed I'd never come back on my own. She proceeded to ask me the same questions about my relationships, which I had similar responses to. When we wrapped up dinner and I got to leave, she held my wrist and just begged me to think about it. And if I don't want her back, she asked that I just don't hate her. She said she'll love me no matter what. Now I'm seriously confused. I'm starting to think if dying alone is the best option here. Cheating is bad enough, but dude, she banged the bar rando in your bed. I find it hard to believe she's been celibate for 5 years. It's possible, but doubtful. Lol seems much more likely that the liar just lied again. So you're saying liars lie? Interesting. And this we aren't clicking thing. Cool, then break up. Sounds like BS to me. Those are exactly some of the tells that someone is having an affair or leading up to one. My bet is that it wasn't a rando and she was already having an affair or developing one before the week apart. Saying that it was a random person, she was drunk, and she knew it was a mistake immediately is a better cover story than she was cheating on him with another guy for several months. I'm not seeing much work on her part to justify taking her back. She just realized that she ruined a good thing and wants it back. That is not the same thing as having true remorse, working on oneself to figure out why she did it, and doing the work necessary to make sure that it never happens again. My recommendation is to move on, unless there is a whole lot of positive info that OP left out. Next story. I feel awful about breaking up with my ex-girlfriend. I, 26 male, broke up with my girlfriend of 9 months, 26 female last week, and I can't stop thinking about it. My ex is a good person, and she was always super nice and giving, and I really liked her. I just didn't feel any spark. About a month before I broke up with her, I met another woman, 27 female, and all that I didn't have with my ex I have with her. I never cheated, but I did break up with my ex to pursue this other woman. When I broke up with my ex, she didn't seem sad. She just nodded and said something along the lines of, "I knew this would happen eventually." I asked what she meant, and she told me that she's always been a stepping stone partner, that she will date somebody on a temporary basis, and then they end up finding a person they love. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but it wasn't. Every single one of her ex-boyfriends dated her for a couple of months and has since married or gotten engaged to the next girl they dated. She showed me proof via social media. She said it was sad at first, but now she's just happy to have helped another guy find his soulmate. What shocked me most is when my ex told me I should go for it, that I deserved a happily ever after, and she was excited for me to have the love I deserve. I haven't spoken to her since, and I have started seeing my current girlfriend, but I can't get out of my head the moment she told me she knew our relationship wouldn't last, thanked me for my time, and encouraged me to pursue my girlfriend. It feels super uncomfortable to realize that my ex enters relationships expecting them to be temporary. I don't know what to do or say or feel. That's super depressing. It sounds like a lot of these guys dated her for far longer than they should have, so she's become hyper aware of the signs when they start pulling away. I hope she finds happiness with someone who is crazy about her. A friend had the experience of OP's ex-girlfriend. The cycle lasted almost 3 years and it was hard. Then she stopped dating for almost a year, and when resumed dating, she met her man 3 months later, and they married 4 years later. Why it happened, I don't know. But life can be unpredictable and unfair. I'm more confused on how you date someone for 9 months and don't feel a spark. You do, if you are using them like OP did until he found someone else. 100% this. I have zero idea why people do this, but it seems to be quite common. If you don't feel a spark, then communicate that to the other person before things progress. Or better yet, cut the other person loose so they can find a real romantic partner. If you don't communicate it or put brakes on the relationship, then stuff like this happens. You meet someone who you are attracted to and bam, relationship is over. I can't imagine using someone like this. I'm manifesting that she'll find a man that doesn't use her as a stepping stone and wants to be with her wholeheartedly. Poor girl. Same. I want her to experience the love of her life permanently. She deserves that. I was a lot like this girl for the longest time, and then I met my husband and we've been stuck to each other since. He truly is the love of my life, and all the other crap was worth it, if it meant I got to meet him. Last story. A 26 female turned my 28 male partner into a parasite, and now I resent him for it. I'm a naturally giving person, meaning I do all I can to satisfy my partners. Long day at work? I'll take off your shoes and rub your feet. Your favorite band is in the city? I got us tickets already. Don't mention it. You asked me to come over? I brought your favorite snacks and drinks. You're coming over? I made you food and rented your favorite movie. I can't help it. I grew up poor. I never had a room of my own. Not even a bed. I know what it's like to go to bed with an empty stomach and pretend to be on a diet so people don't notice that you actually can't afford lunch. So when I love someone, I do everything I can to make their lives easier. My partner comes from a neglectful single mother who ended up passing away at a young age. It took a very long time for him to even feel comfortable enough to share anything that was going on with his life, because that's what he was taught at a young age. However, in the last half year that he finally became comfortable enough to receive my care, it went from being hesitant to expect certain things all the time. All I wanted was to be a reliable shoulder to my partner, someone who would have his back when needed, and someone who I could rely on as well. But somehow, now I'm having to pick up and drop him off everywhere because he can't afford his car anymore. Sometimes he'll ask me to stop at the drive-thru and after ordering, pretend to be on his phone and expect for me to pay. Last week, he asked me to send him an Uber because his car declined and he had a shift to go to. I picked him up once he got out, and to my surprise, he asked if we could make his stop at Walmart because he was in the mood for snacks. With what money? Mine. Writing it down, I'm embarrassed, and to an extent guilty that maybe I'm overreacting, but it's just the fact that things that were meant as a gesture or favor suddenly became expected, and none of them are reciprocated. Sometimes not even thanked for. The thing is, I could blame this entirely on him, but this is not the first partner that changes entirely after I act caring towards them. My last partner did the same thing, to the point where he would be upset if I bought stuff with my own money because, you know, I can't cover my car bill this month. I don't get it. How is it that I end up being my partner's mother when I don't even want kids? How can I stop this? I'm so heartbroken. I feel like I ruin people and condition them into becoming their most dependent version, and I hate myself for it. You've been loving people in the way you wished someone had loved you. So fully, selflessly, without condition. That instinct comes from a good place, but it's also tied to survival. You learn that you need to earn people's love by proving yourself and anticipating their needs before they're voiced. And because of that, you keep attracting people who are drawn to your emotional labor, but not ready to match it. You're just giving so much that they don't have to step up. That's not on you, but it is on you to stop allowing it. Going forward, stop leading with how much you can give. Lead with how much they're willing to meet you halfway. Pay attention to who shows up without being asked and takes initiative and offers. And when someone reveals they're comfortable benefiting from your care without reciprocating it, believe them and walk away. You're not here to fix anyone. You're here to be loved properly. If this keeps happening, it might be time to reflect on why love feels safest when you're needed instead of valued. Therapy can help, but even without it, you can start by asking yourself one thing in every connection. Is this mutual? If the answer is no, then protect your peace. I think you just need to leave him. He's not going to change. As a fellow people pleaser, one thing I started asking myself was, why am I doing this? Why am I bending over backwards to help them? Am I doing this with a genuine intent of being giving and helpful? Or am I trying to use this as a way to get closer to them, / appease them? What is my true intent? Oftentimes, I found that I was conditioned as a child to appease for love and led to believe I was not worth love if I did not appease. Then I'd cease people-pleasing for people who took advantage of it, and they showed me their true colors when they wouldn't get what they wanted anymore. All around, it was toxic. Me, them, everyone. I started only doing things for people if I wanted to. Turns out, I'm not as helpful of a person naturally as I was conditioned to be. And I've had to do a lot of therapy to accept that about myself. That I grow resentful because I help so much and don't get anything back. Because it's an economic exchange, in my mind, no matter what.